Hello, welcome to Girl Talks Motorsport. We are joined by Maceo Capietto, driver of the Martinet by Almeras number 15 in the Porsche Carrera Cup France. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
What are your weekend expectations? This is the first Carrera Cup of the season. What is the expectation? You are starting the race P5. What are the expectations for this race weekend and the season in general?
So this will be my first season in Porsche Carrera Cup France and in the Carrera Cup in general, coming from LMP2. So I would say the idea at the moment is just to race and learn, and try to get as much experience as possible ahead of the second half of the season. But I would say the goal of the season is definitely to challenge for the championship. Now, I might say starting P5 today is a bit, let's say, disappointing because we were expecting better, but it's not a bad start to the season, and it's definitely something we can work with.
As you said, you're coming from an LMP2 car. What motivated you to switch from an LMP2 prototype to a Carrera Cup car?
So at this stage of my career in LMP2, I was, let's say, a bit stuck just below the professional level. I was not being paid, but I was not at a level where I could pretend to be paid in the future, in this like close up future. And with Porsche, the opportunity came to be their junior driver, and this I believe is a great opportunity to try to make the step into GT3 racing and become a professional driver.
Also, there's a huge difference between how an LMP2 car and a Porsche car looks like. What would you say, driving wise, it's the main difference or the biggest difference?
The LMP2 is definitely a lot quicker in the high-speed corners with all the aero. So as a driver, it's let's say a bit strange to adapt. It feels a bit more like driving in the wet, but it's still very fun and very challenging. And the level in the championship is very high. So yeah, big challenge for me.
What would you say is the biggest adjustment you have had to do uh, when you made the switch?
In the LMP2, you're very conservative in the way you drive because it's a long race. You're trying to save the tires for the second half. Here in the Porsche Cup, it's a sprint race, and the quality is way more important than I would say the race pace. And so you need to focus a lot on the single lap pace. And the second thing would be the ABS. It's a huge new item for me, which I've never experienced with in the past. So yeah, a lot of work to do about it.
And also in the Porsche app, every driver has a really similar machinery. So what would you say is your what changes in your approach when it comes to in a weekend, in a race weekend?
I would say in the race weekend, the approach is not very different. But overall, the gaps are a lot tighter. I mean, everybody is within 2-3 tenths, and you see in the qualifying, I'm only a tenth and a half away in P5. So it's very difficult to make a difference. But yeah, it highlights who's the best. So it's
And as you say, qualifying is really close between everyone. So how important is that when it comes to race weekend?
the qualifying is the most important stage of the race. Definitely, it's so difficult to overtake. You need to sacrifice the race pace in order to have a good qualifying. And I would say starting on pole, I wouldn't say guarantees you to win the race, but you have a 90% chance to do well, and it's a huge advantage.
And as a driver, what areas do you think this championship will help you improve?
I would say it will prepare me very well for the next step, which is GT3 racing. With the introduction of ABS, the car is a lot closer to a GT3. And another thing is that it gives everybody an equal opportunity. I mean, there are different teams, but the car is the same. And overall, the performance of all the teams is very, very close. So it really highlights who you are as a driver and makes a difference.
And also, obviously, there's a big difference on driving for 4 hours to a shorter one. So, what, how does it feel to come to a more intense, like shorter version of the race?
Uh, yeah, it definitely makes a difference in the way you approach the race. In LMP2, I would say you start off 90% and you try to keep your tires for the end, and you never really push actually because it's so important to keep your tires under control. And I had become quite good at it, and now all of this tire saving experience will surely help me here. But at the same time, I haven't spent the last few years pushing 100% all the time, 24/7. So There are mistakes which I need to correct, and which I will definitely improve in the second half of the season.
And what was your first impression the first time you got to drive this car?
I got to drive it in Le Castellet on the small track, and I was actually very impressed by the amount of traction you get from the engine being all the way at the back. And overall, I was very pleased with the way it drives. I was expecting coming from the LMP2 car to feel like the car is very heavy, very slow, not as intuitive, and not as fun to drive as the LMP2. But I was very pleasantly surprised, and I'm glad to be here.
You have also said your aim is to fight for the championship. So this is the biggest aim. You're like, would you say it's more go for the championship or adapt while trying to go for the championship?
I think the idea is to improve all the way through the season. I mean, today we start P5, but the performance is there to fight for a podium all the time. The idea is to start that way and build forward, and by the end of the year, be able to challenge for wins consistently and be ready for Porsche Super Cup next year. That would be the biggest goal.
This is everything. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you to
this
you.
interview and best of luck this season.
Thank you very much.